Okay. Looks like we're live. Let's get our... There we are, folks. Greetings, greetings, one and all. Lurkers, twerkers, and responsibility shirkers. Everybody is welcome at the hobby shop. So we got Les Wiley. Good to see you again, Les. And Papa Joe Durbin. How about that grandson, huh? That's a fine sight of a man and his grandson. Hello, Smoking Coins, Lincoln, Lucky Coin Hunter, Treasure Trolls, Michigan, HD Shovel Ed, Lincoln Michael Mullins again, and looks like Kid did Doc. Yeah, Kid did okay. Okay. Well, that's a new channel to me. But welcome everybody. Anna Hutchinson and Bill 457. Good to see you. Looking down the line, VC Coins Nevada. Hey, I love that name. That's great. Paula Bloom. Hello. Coin and Card Hobbyist. Silver Nitrate. Bill 457 again. Laura Day. Welcome everyone, and hope everybody is getting their money's worth out of the coin seminar weekend. I'm still adjusting my camera here because I moved it. I had trouble with my USB camera here this week. Coin Dragon, greetings. I saw you on the test show and didn't have a chance to say hello. It was a real short stream. I was just checking out my stuff to see if it would work right, and looks like we're okay. Y'all let me know if we have sound troubles or lagging or any of that kind of mess. We got a few things to say before we get started. First of all, the haiku winner was Z Squared, I believe, right? And congratulations, and special thanks to Ken Peavy for organizing all this once again for everyone. Mantic was just on, and I hope everybody was over there and enjoyed Mantic's show. He always does a good program, and I've become one of the many Manticaholics. So, hi, my name is Scott. I'm a Manticaholic, and we after the show here, we're going to try to wrap up before too late, so we can get out of the way and let Blues Coins do his thing. Hopefully give everybody a chance to take a break, maybe hit the restroom, maybe grab a glass of cranberry juice or your favorite sugar-free beverage. Which cranberry juice is, of course, good for urinary tract health. So, tonight is the big show at 9:30, but before the big show, we've got Trey's Treasures on at 8 o'clock, so be sure to check out Trey. If you haven't seen Trey's Treasures, he's a young fellow, good numismatist, and does a pretty good show. So check him out. Ken Peavy's at 9:30. Ken Peavy tomorrow at 9:30 with the grand prize giveaway for the Coin Seminar weekend, for which you can gather clues somewhere around, even here at the hobby shop. So keep that in mind. Now, before we get started, there's something that's on old Hoogie's heart. Back in December, and I'm gonna keep this short because it's very painful for Hoogie. Back in December, I went down to the ATM machine to get me some coin and cranberry juice money, and this came out of the Wells Fargo teller machine. Well, that's not a $20 bill. That is a piece of garbage. That's what that is. So it was Friday, and it was at Christmas time, and I was busy, and I couldn't go in, but I took it back to another Wells Fargo branch, and they looked it up. Yeah, I did go get money up, and they would have nothing to do with this. They said tough luck. So Special thanks to Wells Fargo for helping make Christmas bright here at Hoogie House. Then before we get started, I saw a new channel today, Rare Coin TV. He was on earlier this afternoon. Looks like a good channel. That was a new one to me. I hope you guys have checked it out, subscribed, liked, and checked out the content that he has there. There is another channel I want to mention too while I'm doing, and that is Coin Help You. It's all one word, Coin Help, and the letter U. Coin Help You. And he's a pretty big channel. He's over 1,000 subscribers now. But he has great content. He's a coin pro, and he's a pretty gifted teacher too. So check out Coin Help You when you're on YouTube. Lemonhead Penny says, "Death to Wells Fargo." Well, Wells Fargo was around even back in the Carson City Mint days, so I don't think they're going anywhere just yet. They've survived the Great Depression, the banking crash, everything else. Let's take a look here and see what's going on. Mike Badger says, "We need to find our group, Hoogies, King of the Killer Fish, so they can play an intermission next seminar." King of the Killer Fish. All right, that sounds like fun. Let's see here. Hello, lots of people. I hate to leave anybody out, but I can't say hey to everybody. Welcome, everyone. All right. Youper Girl's feeding the kids. That's good. And with that in mind, yeah, it looks like the professor's here. So welcome, and of course, thank you, Professor, for being our community organizer. So, most of what I'm going to talk about today comes straight out of this here book. It's called Mint Mark CC by, my hand's in the way, Howard Hickson, and it's a thin little book. You can get it on Amazon, and I don't know how much it costs, but it's not a whole lot. Well worth every bit. We start the tale of our Carson City Mint by going back in time. We got to go back in time here. Let me get my unofficial Wild West vest on here. Mrs. Hoogie is no doubt cringing as she watches In Parts Unknown. So, we got the vest, got my badge, and we're starting to get into it now. Carson City. I'll show you the man right here. The story of the Carson City Mint starts with this man right here. His name's Abraham Curry. Abraham Curry was a very flamboyant character, and he, thank you, Lemonhead. Marshall Hoogie, he says. He, along with 3 other men, headed west looking for land. They wanted cheap land. And when he went on all the way through the Rockies, through the Sierras, all the way to California, he found that the land there was sky high. And some things never change. So he turned around, went back through the Sierras, and ended up in the Nevada territory. Nevada was not a state at that time. It was in 1858. And he comes along, thank you, David Carlisle. Abraham Curry comes along a place where he wants to buy the land from some people who were settled there who were Mormons, and he got so mad at the high price of the land that he got back on his horse and said, "I'll just go start my own town. Thank you very much." So he turned around and he and his friends ended up in a place called Eagle Valley. Now, Eagle Valley, he bought. It was an old Mormon settlement. The Mormons were kind of bugging out because the government was starting to lean in on them about their multiple wives gig and all that stuff. And someone had bought it from the Mormons, and he bought it from that man name of Mencken. He bought the whole area for $500. So he and his friends set up right there and started a little town called Carson City. Now, he named it after Kit Carson. Let's take a look here. I'm trying to do like Charlie does here and put some pictures on here so you can see. Now, this is the hotel. You can see the mountains in the background. You can kind of get a feel for what it was like. It was dusty. There weren't paved roads or anything. I mean, it was like being on the Ponderosa. You know, it was like that, and that's one reason that Hoogie does so much like the Carson City Mint, because it takes me back to when I was 5 years old and watching Bonanza on television. You know, when times were simple and I was just a kindergarten age kid. You know, but Currystown started right here, and that was 1858. He actually did a little horse trading with his friends to purchase this segment of the land from them, from one of them. I believe it was like 2 horses and some butter or something that he bought that part of land where that hotel sits, the Warm Springs Hotel. And they did that. They traded stuff for land all the time and had a lot of fun doing that. So, by the way, Warm Springs Hotel, you know, prostitution was not illegal at that time for many more years, and so you can imagine some of the things that went on there. It eventually became the grounds of the territorial prison. The very next year, 1859, guess what happened? Anybody in chat line, guess what happened in 1859 in the Carson City area? I'll give you just a few seconds while the the lag kicks in. The Comstock lode. Yeah, the Comstock lode was discovered right there under the eastern face of Mount Davidson, and it was a huge discovery. They called it. It was the original silver bonanza, and over the years, about $400 million worth of silver came out of that mountain. And there were other mines in the area, and Carson City was sort of in the middle of the mines, but the biggest, most successful ones were part of the Comstock lode. So, hang on just a second as I fumble through my stuff. So, there we are. The town is founded. Abraham Curry and his friends. Then the silver is discovered. Now, Abraham Curry was said to have walked through the streets jingling money. He had all kinds of visions and plans for his little town. He expected fully for the town to become the state capital, and he was working behind the scenes to make some of that happen, which it did later on. Now, in 1863, the Congress, U.S. Congress, passed a bill to create the mint in Carson City. They took bids on the work, and guess who got the contract? It was old Abraham Curry himself. And so the father of Carson City is going to become also the father of the mint. He was in various businesses and stuff, of course, real estate and horse trading. Who knows? He did many businesses, and he got the contract, and so off they went. Now, the money was slow to arrive. That was one of the problems with this Carson City mint. Carson City Mint, it was out, clear out in Nevada, and the money from Washington was always slow to get there. The original bid was like $150,000 to build the building, and it ultimately took about 3 times that much. So in the meantime, it was Curry's job to make sure everybody got paid and keep production going, and it was impossible. They had to stop, like after the foundation was laid, they had to stop for snow because they were setting all these big sandstone pieces on this big building. You know, for those days, it was a pretty big building, and they couldn't work in the cold. They had to wait for temperatures to be, you know, reasonable before they could do certain things like mix their concretes and whatever it was. So they had all kinds of slowdowns like that, not to mention labor troubles. He hired, for a while, he used some Chinese labor, and there was a lot of political fallout from that. So he hired some veterans from the Civil War, from the Union Army, and hired them. And anyway, everything was very expensive, and it was tough to get going. He had to make not one, but two trips back to Washington to lobby for money to make payments on the supplies and the labor to create this building. Now, to go to Washington from Nevada in those days didn't mean you just, you know, get on an airplane, fly over there. It meant you first go to San Francisco. You go through the mountains, across California to San Francisco. You get on a boat. You go all the way around South America, and then back up the East Coast all the way to Washington. Then you do your business, and then you go all the way back by boat. And they went by boat because it was less dangerous, it was less expensive, and it was probably quicker for most people. Now, traveling over land in a horse and buggy was, you know, it was difficult stuff for even young people to do. So anyway, oh, Silver Turtle, thank you for the subscription, Silver Turtle 65. So on one of his trips, the workers, they made a beautiful rosewood liquor cabinet for Curry to endure his journey with, and he thanked them. He said that those of you who know me know that I am frequently thirsty and seldom without a chew. So thank you for the liquor cabinet, which he took on his journey. And in 1869, that was the granddaddy of them all. That's when everything was coming together. Anybody that's worked in construction, y'all probably know, that's all trades on top of each other. And they finally got it all together, and the machinery at the end of 1869. But they had no dies. They had no dies to make coins. They were dying for dies. There was no dies to be had. And so the dies arrived early in 1870, and finally the Carson City Mint was cooking. And boy, they cooked. They everything was driven by steam, and the steam was powered by wood. They burned wood in these big furnaces. They had 2 big furnaces, and they burned the wood, and that drove the steam, and the steam turned big axles and wheels, and there was all these pulleys that ran this way and that way, here and there through the building, into the basement, up to the first floor. There was really the basement, first floor, and second floor, and pulleys ran stuff. Even the coin press, it had a big pulley that was driven from the machine room that turned the big wheel on the side of the press. Some of you have probably seen pictures of this. This is the old #1 press. They didn't call it old at that time. It was just the #1 press. And weighing in at a svelte 12,000 pounds, it was the only press they had for at the beginning. And by the way, it is now housed in the Nevada State Museum. So that's the old #1 press. There came a time, it was 1873, 1870, no, it was 1872, December of 1872. The one fatality, one, at the Carson City Mint was a man by the name of Parker. His name was Osborne Parker. He was working in the basement, and his sweater got caught in one of these big wheels, and it promptly whipped him up against the ceiling and pinned him there, and he died from the injuries. When they brought him down, he died very shortly after that, right there in the Mint. So Osborne Parker was the one and only fatality there. It had to have been less than ideal conditions. They talked about in the book at times working conditions around 130 degrees and that kind of stuff. I'm going to take a look over in chat. Once in a while my working conditions they feel like 130 degrees. So looking over here now, you guys are a little bit behind me. There's some kind of a lag between what I say and what you guys are doing, but we can handle that. So the Mint was going full force, and those were the good days. Back through the mid 70s, mid 1870s and stuff. The Mint actually it set some records for a single press turnout in I think 1876, like September and October, with like 1 million coins with just one press in 2 months, and they were high quality coins and all of that, just like you would expect. You've seen a bunch of that from Carson City even now, and so that was the heyday. People were at work. They were making money. The economy of the whole Carson City area, and also, by the way, Virginia City, which is only 15 miles away, both began to blossom and take off and get bigger and better. And old Abraham Curry, you remember him over here? Abraham Curry was said to have walked through the streets jingling money in his pocket. Back here we have a picture of the Mint building there. When it was first completed, it looked like that. It was kind of spooky looking. There was no lights, there was no electricity, and had these big chimneys, and they said the smoke from the chimneys was real sulfuric, and so it was kind of smelly and gross. And that's just the way life was. There was actually a specialist hired to check it out, and he said you needed a higher chimney. And so they looked into that, and sure enough, Washington decided, we don't have enough money to build no higher chimney, we're going to leave it the way it is. And so the Carsonites had to kind of just bear with it and hold their nose. Then, but there was just a incredible soap opera that went on. 1879 was a short year for the Mint because of political reasons. People in Washington from the Treasury Department actually ordered the Mint to stop purchasing silver. They could bring the silver in straight from the mines that were nearby and bring it there, have their silver and their gold, there was gold in there too, have it turned into coins and get the coins back for a fee. And Washington told them stop doing that. And so then VC coins, Nevada, I'm in the same boat, brother. All my CCs are silver, 90%. But they had to stop in 79 and 81, and I've talked about that before. 81, the miners started shipping all their silver to San Francisco, including, by the way, a U.S. Senator by the name of Fair. Inappropriately named, probably, but Fair was his name. And Fair owned a mine, and it was in Comstock Lode, and he was sending all his silver to San Francisco, where he also owned a refinery. And so he was, doing that. it turns out that the amount of silver he was sending to San Francisco would have been enough to keep Carson City Mint going for the rest of 1881. But as it is, 1881 is a key date for us, and just for something to look at. And my USB scope is working to do this. That's an 1881 Carson City, and I'll get my glove on before I can handle that baby. 1881 is a key date for us in Carson City. This is kind of a barely uncirculated coin. You can see the Carson City Mint mark right there under the wreath at the bottom. So there was all kinds of things like that going on. There was accusations of this or that, and none of them ever really panned out. Now, let's take a look here. One of the accusations was that they were sweating the bullion. Sweating the bullion was a technique. How are we on time? Okay. It was a technique. I'll read it out of the book. Rumors of sweating, that is taking gold out of the ingots, that the mint brought in a special agent from the Secret Service. The loyal Carsonites gave him so much false information and led him on so many useless chases that he was prompted to report to his superiors. Any community with so many people seem determined to shield criminals is not a good place for the mint. And so that is a microcosm of what was going on. Back east, they considered Carson City to be full of con artists and criminals and lowlifes and whatever, just because they were out there, and they did things kind of the wild old west kind of way. They didn't appreciate good bureaucratic oversight, you know. So it was tough going for Carson City politically sometimes. Now, none of it, and I mean none of it, was more apparent than when this guy came along. Change my thing. Now, every good story has a bad guy. And this fellow here, he certainly has the face of a bad guy, if you ask me. When Grover Cleveland was elected president, he was not from the party of Abraham Lincoln. He was from the other party, and so he was a Democrat. Now, in those days, much of the employing went along political party lines, and the advent of the Cleveland administration was bad news for the Carson City Mint, because Cleveland had no love for the silver buffs. They call them the Silverites, and he got very little. He didn't win Nevada. Nevada was formed as a state kind of in a hurry to ensure that President Lincoln got his second term. So it was very much you might call it a blue state, the way we think of it. I'm sorry, a red state. It was a Republican state. And so, bad news. And sure enough, in 1885, the Carson City Mint came to a close. And came to they shut down the coining department. And there was no coins coming out of Carson City. Actually, they were, after a short break, I think they did open the assaying, melting, and refining departments. But no coins. No coins from 85, and it went on like that for several years. Now, in 1889, and we're going to have to move quickly here through time. In 1889, this is a 2012 S proof set, by the way. 1889, Benjamin Harrison was elected president. He was a Republican. and he said, strike up those presses again. And so they took them out of mothballs and did a little work on them, and they got word to do that in like early in July. In September, they were striking coins again, and that's why the 85, particularly the 85 Carson cities, are key dates, because it was such a short year for Carson City. Now, that went on for a while, and sure enough, after the Harrison administration, old Grover Cleveland got reelected again, and this time the Treasury Department under the Cleveland administration shut down the Carson City mint coining, and it turned out to be for good. Nobody figured that would happen, but it did. So Grover Cleveland he was the man in charge. He may not have given the order, but it was certainly the Cleveland administration that made the decision to through the Treasury Department to shut down coining at the mint. 93, that's the way it went. So a very sad thing for the Carson City community, and there was nothing they could do about it. There were little glimmers of hope that came along. The very next year, there would be a bill introduced that would start coining again in Carson City, but none of them passed. They all got vetoed, and they all turned out to be irrelevant because the presses sat idle, and they knew that when the paraffin, the wax, was put on these big machines in the machine room, that they knew that they weren't coming back. So, and to add insult to injury, they brought in the coiner. They brought the coiner in from San Francisco to oversee the shutting down of the coining in Carson City. So that's the way that went. And I wish I could play the guitar the way Johnny Cash used to play the theme from Bonanza. I play it really slow. But anyway, there we have that. Now, let's go back, before we do our giveaway, let's go back to one thing. Now, they say timing is everything. Here he is. Remember Abraham Curry, this guy? I'll put him up top. He owned a lot of the Carson City area, and he was known to walk through the town jingling money in his pocket, jingling change in his pocket, smiling. And here, I'll read from page 9 of the book. It says, it was with good reason then that Abe Curry could saunter through town jingling the loose change in his pocket and smiling over his little but prospering kingdom. Now, this is back in the early days. He had only one disappointment. Whenever he looked toward the hills in the east, he remembered ruefully that he and a partner, a local butcher, had once owned a mine up there, but they had sold the Gould and Curry very early, only to see it eventually produce $15,664,162 for its new owners. So Curry, for all of his real estate smarts, really blew it on that one. He sold the mine, and the mine turned out $15 million plus for the new owners. But and they said Abe Curry, his widow, alleges that he died with like $1 silver in his pocket, and all his other money was tied up in business, and she died. She lived destitute after his death in the 1873 or so. Now, pardon me while I fumble with my computer. Now we have a giveaway. I showed this a little while earlier, in between the coin seminar shows. We're going to give this baby away right here. 1890. It is in fine condition, not fair. Fine condition. It is a CC, 1890 CC in fine condition. It has one little rim ding on the about 4 o'clock over there. Pretty minor. When you're looking at Morgan dollars, when you see this disappearing area right here on the wing and there on the other wing, when you see those just starting to fade, that's when you're starting to think fair condition. Among other things, those are something that's really easy to spot for me anyway. On the obverse, you look for just a little presence of the hairline still remaining. Hairline disappears, then it's going to be a lower grade than fine. But this one is a fine, and this is going to be the way we do it. Where's my coin here? Okay, this coin right here. Take a look at that there coin. Scan your memory banks from last summer when we did the 1, 2, 3s of the early Carson City silver dollar, and tell me, first one in chat to say the correct date, wins the other coin, wins the 1890 coin. Tell me the correct date of this here slabbed coin. There's not many, so you can probably guess it if you try. Lemonhead penny. Lemonhead penny is the first one on my screen with the correct answer. And Lemonhead penny, I do have your shipping address. Lemonhead won last time, but yeah, Lemonhead has the answer. There's only 1 year that this coin could be. Since it's a Carson City, I'll show you why. You may remember my show that I did called the ABCs of the 1878 reverse. And the A point, checkpoint, right here on the west wing. The president works in the west wing, right? So the first one went to the president. You start on the west wing. West wing, if it touches right there, you know it's an 8 tail feathers, and it's the first reverse. It's not touching. And if you take the trouble to count, which I never do, that's 7 tail feathers down there. Second point is over here at the A on the east wing, and it will be touching on the second reverse, or the B reverse technically. And yeah, we got a touching A right there. That means the B reverse would indicate, would always have straight arrow feathers down here, and they are all parallel and straight. So this is the second reverse. There's only one Carson City coin that had a second reverse, the B reverse, and that is, yes, thank you, Lemonhead penny, 1880. Honorable mention goes to Hoosier Hillbilly, who was second. This coin here is certified at MS63, and it actually has the CAC sticker. And if you don't know what a CAC sticker is, that stands for the Certification Acceptance Corporation. And that means that after this was slabbed by PCGS, the owner sent it to CAC, and CAC confirms the grade on this coin as MS63. So that's that. Lemonhead, I'll get your coin out probably on Tuesday, because I believe tomorrow, here's another look at it, I believe tomorrow is holiday for Martin Luther King Day. Now let's go to here. So congratulations to Lemonhead for winning again. He won the Peace Dollar show. And by the way, y'all get over to Lemonhead's auctions and buy some stuff. He's got some really good coins over there, and you can almost always get them at a really good price too. So do that. We got time right now for one more giveaway. And I'm gonna have to move a couple things around here. I've lost my little box. Okay, so take a look at this right here, and we'll give this coin away. Don't spill it. This is a Carson City dime, 1876. The Seated Liberty version. Fairly low grade. Not worth a whole lot, but very collectible. You can see the Carson City mint mark there. So this one here goes to the winner of the next quiz. The quiz, and I'll go ahead and put go here. The quiz is, who is the father of Carson City? What is his name? He's the guy that we've been looking at. Curry. Paula Bloom says Curry, and his name is Curry. Paula is first. Lucky Coin Hunter says Abraham Curry, which is also correct, but we'll accept Curry. So Paula Bloom, if you'll send me a shipping address, you've won yourself a Carson City dime in I don't know, probably a good grade. And we'll get that out also on Tuesday. So now there's a couple more things that I want to touch on. I had promised that we would talk about Mark Twain. Now get this. Back when the mint reopened in 1889, remember there was a closure under the Grover Cleveland administration, and then it opened again under Benjamin Harrison in 1889. And they needed a new superintendent. The old superintendent had died, and so they named the town undertaker of all people in Carson City, the one undertaker in town. He became the new superintendent of the mint. Now check this out. That's the actual sign of Mr. Wright. His name is Samuel C. Wright, or Sam Wright. And there was a writer in the nearby Virginia City paper, who you may recognize as this guy. Yep, that's him, Mark Twain. Mark Twain had recently had a death in his family, and he considered all undertakers to be like vultures, you know, and taking advantage of people in their grief and all that stuff. And he mercilessly criticized Mr. Wright from his perch over in Virginia City. And so Mark Twain actually is part of the lore of the Carson City Mint. Now, and that's kind of the way that the things were with the mint. There was always something bizarre going on. In 1894, after the mint was, let me go back here. After the mint was closed in 1894, it was only an assay station. People could still bring their silver and have it turned into silver ingots. The government would buy the silver and turn them into silver ingots, and then would send them probably to San Francisco or even New Orleans. But it was discovered that the ingots being made were too small. So some of you silver pourers, like Lemonhead, Some of you silver pouring fans will appreciate that. Some of the ingots were coming out too small. They're sending them off, and well, actually they're being discovered sometime after they were made, before they're sent off their weight again. And yeah, it was discovered that like an assistant melter or somebody was doing this. He had tampered with the molds or something, or sweated out the gold and put in copper or whatever it was. Anyway, they had a big manhunt, tracked him down. There were several people involved, and they all went to jail. And the book I showed you earlier, the book here, the Mint Mark CC book, toward the end of the book, it talks at length about some of this. And one of the guy's lawyers actually got shot in the street because his son thought that the lawyer was going for a pistol and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's Wild West soap opera stuff, really. Now, the one thing I neglected to mention was these coins have a CC. They have two C's on the back, right? And you might recall that Charlotte Mint was in service back like before the Civil War and all, and there were coins out there that had a C on them. So these from Carson City, of course, had to have two C's to differentiate them from the Charlotte coins that were still out in circulation, particularly among the northern states and all. So let's take a look, see what else we've left out. I've always wondered. Let's take a look at this. Not always, but I have wondered before why it is that, move the dime, that so many bag marks show up on these. Look at that. That's an MS-63 coin, but it has some pretty deep, wicked bag marks. If you look at it close, you can see that that's from a coin. It's from a reeded edge coin, just falling on that coin right there and hitting her right in the face and making a terrible scar. And the way that the press worked, that's what happened. The coin was ejected out of the mechanism as the wheel turned. The big wheel on the right turned. One thing that big wheel did was force the coins out. It was connected to an ejecting mechanism, and the coins came out and landed in a box. The next coin comes out, lands in a box. Come out, land in a box. Come out, land in a box. Come out, land in a box. And so a lot of times they would land, I think more times than not, they would land face up and be a perfect target for the next coin to bust right into it, and they're heavy. So I think that's probably why we have so many deep bag marks, some of them terrible looking bag marks on the obverse side, and the reverse side usually looks really good. I won't show the reverse again, but more often than not, the worst bag marks are on the top. So anyway, hope you guys have enjoyed our little program here about the Carson City Mint. Anybody have any questions? Here, I'm going to take a look. I'm going to take a look at chat in the meantime. Yes, Coin Dragon, that is my clue behind me. My clue is 1965. 1965. So, those of you who are collecting the clues and want to win the big prize on Monday night, Ken Peavy's show at 9:30 is the place to do it. Now, let's see. Laura Day says Hoss. All right. Hoss Cartwright. Well, I tried to emulate Hoss Cartwright, but I kind of liked Adam. Adam had a cooler hat, and he wore those black clothes and everything. You know, cowboys got to have a good hat, you know. Just Hoss Cartwright's hat was that big old 10-gallon hat thing. I didn't like that too much. But Adam, the thing about Adam is Adam did you wrong. Adam Cartwright, he got on his horse and he rode back off to the east. Doggone, I guess he went to med school or something, because he came back with a terrible job, and it was called Trapper John M.D. So I quit liking Adam Cartwright after that. I don't know why anybody would want a job that's called M.D. So with that, folks, hope y'all enjoyed our show today. We'll get the coins out to our winners. Congratulations to Lemonhead Penny and Paula Bloom. And y'all head on. Well, first of all, take yourself a break. Get you a glass of cranberry juice or your favorite beverage, preferably without sugar in it, because that sugar will kill you. And get over to Blues Coins show. He's going to be talking about supplies, and he's kind of a new collector, and is growing. His channel's growing pretty quick. So get over to Blues Coins, check him out, and as always, take care of yourself, take care of your coins, and take care of the YouTube coin community. And we'll see you hares at the roundup.